What's up, everyone, and happy Halloween. That's right, we're back. I know it's been a while. You'll figure out why soon, but I'll cover that more in a video that comes out Friday. But for now, we are here to talk about none other than the latest Blumhouse flick and a sequel or a reboot, however you want to consider this, of what a lot of people consider a classic horror franchise, and that is none other than The Exorcist. That's right, The Exorcist believer. And honestly, yeah, I'm gonna be upfront. I've made it known whenever I've done a horror review in the past. I am very selective about the horror that I cover, that I just watch. I shouldn't say cover because if it's a horror movie, I try to watch every single one. However, this was one that I knew going in was going to be a tough watch for me. There are two things, or there's one thing that can ultimately shut me down from a movie, period, and that is harm of like any major harm coming to that of a child that normally turns me off of a movie immediately. And yeah, and this is the first real possession horror movie I've experienced. I've never seen the original Exorcist, so let me put that out there now. My review is not going to be held up to the standard of what is considered a classic film. This is David Gordon Green, who has who revived the Halloween franchise with the first film, and then we won't talk about those other two right now because that is a whole other argument. So Universal and Blumhouse thought it would be a good idea to give him The Exorcist, and if I'm going to be honest, as someone with no prior connection to the franchise or attachment, I really had fun with this as much as I could. I was scared a lot of the time just because it's hard when to me, the fear comes not from the father or anything. It comes from the fact that children are in harm. And children are in harm are one of those big things. Like I said, it can be an easy turn off for me. I did spend a lot of the movie just doing this because I didn't know when something was going to happen or what was going to be said, or what these characters were going to experience. I do want to give a shout out to Leslie Odom Jr., who plays the lead. For those of you who don't know, Leslie Odom Jr. is Aaron Burr in the original cast of Hamilton, and he's had a few other roles, whether that be Murder on the Orient Express or a couple other smaller roles like a demon in Supernatural. However, funny enough, I love Supernatural. That deals with demon possession, but more in a comic book type way. This does not. This is just straight up horror, bodies decaying because of the fact, and I was just very uncomfortable grabbing my partner's thigh and just like just couldn't do it. It's like, for me personally, it's a tough watch. It's not something I'll ever likely to be revisiting again. Just based strictly on the fact of it is this kind of horror film, and uh, it's there's a conversation that can be had about this film once everybody sees it. That ultimately, a discussion of race can be had in this, and grief, of course, because that's one thing, but how grief makes us do crazy things. But there's going to be a situation possibly where there's a question of race, and I don't really want to dive too deep into it. Maybe once other people see this, I'll get Jeff and Paige on here and we can do a spoiler review and talk about this, maybe even Taylor and Connor. But there's a moment in here that you're like, oh, did we have to make it? Oh, okay. And it didn't sit right with me in that case. So, uh, yeah, that was something. And there's a few twists and turns, especially in that final act when it comes to the the act of the exorcism itself, that you're like, oh, um, but it's fine. It's a great performances, you could say, from the cast, but like I said, I tried not docking it, considering this isn't my jive. This isn't my type of horror film. I told people who I'm close with who asked me about this: killer clowns, fine. Slasher film, awesome. Possession film where the person being possessed is a child, no. No, thank you. Hell no. Don't need to see it ever again. So if I'm going to give this film a rating, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5 reels, just based off the fact of, did it do the job of being a horror film? Was I scared? Yes. There were some very cool visuals and very cool effects. The makeup was amazing when it came to the possessed girls, but I'm trying to disassociate my very much being a bitch when it comes to horror films from the film itself. And in this case, it's kind of hard due to the subject matter. But 3.5 out of 5, that's what I'm going with right now. My question is, what are your thoughts? Be sure to check out some stuff we have coming out over the next couple days, whether that be the Loki review that drops in like an hour or so, or the Ahsoka final full season review with myself and Paige for Betty. Be sure to check those out, and be sure to check out the surprise video that's gonna be an unboxing and also state of the channel, because I know it's been nearly 2 damn months since I posted anything, and there's a reason for that, and we'll dive into that. It has to do with this, but you'll find out about all of that when the time comes. However, signing off, I'm Matt, and this was another Real Review. Have a good one.